Hello guys, welcome back, and today we're going to talk about Oculus Rift. So one of the things everybody's been wondering about is basically what are the recommended system setups for the system that's kind of been kept under wraps. Well, Oculus has finally revealed the recommended PC specifications for the Oculus Rift, starting off with an NVIDIA GTX 970/AMD 290 equivalent or greater, an Intel i5-4590 equivalent or greater, which I don't think is a surprise to anybody. Some people had wondered if it was going to be an i7, but it seems an i5 will work. 8 gigabytes of RAM, compatible HDMI 1.3 video output required, 2 times USB 3.0 required, and Windows 7 SPI or newer required. Again, not surprised that you need UPS 3.0 considering USB 3.0 because it's a newer device, or the HDMI 1.3 video output. Windows 7, not a surprise. It wasn't surprised they would have gone up to Windows 8, but Windows 7 is, again, used by a lot of people, so again, not a surprise. But basically, for a much deeper dive into this, you can go there, a detailed blog post about it. But it said, Beanstalk also revealed resolution details for the Rift consumer model. For example, on the raw rendering costs, a traditional 180p game at 60 Hz requires 124 million shade pixels per second. In contrast, the Rift runs at 2160 times 1200 at 90 Hz, split over dual displays, consuming 233 million pixels per second. At a default eye target scales, the Rift rendering requirements go much higher, around 400 million shades per second. This means by raw rendering costs alone, the VR game will require approximately 3 times the GPU power of 1080p rendering. Of course, not a surprise because of what the thing's rendering inside, right? I mean, again, the Rift consumer model launches the first quarter of 2016. It arrives, before April, as mentioned above. Again, the pricing for this has yet to be announced, and all Oculus said today was fans can expect more news about this device leading up to E3. So, again, next year's going to be a busy year when you talk, virtual reality, because you got the Rift coming out next year. You got Sony's Project Morpheus. Meanwhile, the Vive VR headset from Valve and HTC is due to launch later this year. Again, pricing for all these headsets have not been announced in any way, and that is the problem with the Oculus and all these, right? First of all, does your system be able to run it? Of course, you expected it to be what you wanted it to do. You obviously expected a very, a PC that had to do a lot in order to run this thing properly. But on top of all that, what's really going to determine any of these success is the price, right? I mean, we don't know the price. And of course, obviously they're going to announce it before E3 due to the fact that, if they announce it during E3, it's going to get buzzsawed in because all the gaming reveals, system news, all that stuff, it would buzzsaw it because that time of year is just not a good time to release it. So obviously before E3 we'll get more news. But again, it's just showing you how much of a rig you'll need for those people who really want to run it on their PC. Of course, the big question comes also is the success of this simply determines on how many games are going to adopt the Oculus Rift. Where's that killer game with that killer experience for this virtual reality set? That's what they need. If they can get that, this thing has a good chance. Again, a lot of people I've talked to are really hyped for virtual reality. They're ready for it. The question becomes, when it really comes down to, I know they've made a lot of strides to kind of make it where there is an eye strain. And there's only so much you can do about that. Nintendo dealt with that with the 3DS, right? No matter how much you do, there's going to be some eye strain for some people. But how much eye strain will there be for the average person? And where's that killer game? Because again, why? There are a bunch of people who are early adopters who are excited for the technology, just like people were for the Kinect, just like people were for the 3DS. It just depends on what games come out for it and what is that killer game that you said, wow, I can only get that experience on this system and it's amazing. That's what it's going to be. Could be from the homebrew screen. You never know, somebody homebrewing an old game that you used to play. You just never know. But right now, those are the specs. So if you want to get one or run it, that's what you're going to need. At least an i5, at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, HDMI 1.3, times 2 USB 3.0, and Windows 7 SPI or newer, which of course anybody getting this who could run this probably already has Windows 7 or newer anyway. And so, what do you think about these specs? What do you think about this? Does this give you like more excited for this, that you see how detailed the specs are and some of the things they put out there for this? Does it even change your opinion? Or are you like, man, I really want to get that, but my PC can't handle it? For my PC, I think it can handle it, but it's a cost of, it's about price, right? I mean, if they say, hey, this thing costs as much as PS4 and Xbox One, I don't know how on board people really are. It just depends. Anyway, love to hear you guys' opinions on this like always, and I will make another video soon. Thanks for watching, guys.